Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us once again. This, of course, is Will I Ever Be Happy? Finding Joy Amidst Depression and Anxiety. It's a wonderful summit. Like you all know, it's 21 speakers. And today we are featuring the very wonderful, fabulous Megan Callus. She is a renowned neuroscience-based breathwork expert. For years, she's been applying her skills and knowledge in respiration and neuroscience to help her clients with anxiety, depression, complex trauma, fatigue, amongst a host of other ailments. Her vision is to destigmatize mental illness and utilize the newest, top of the line, innovative science of brain and nervous system together to help them all overcome their traumas and ailments. So hopefully you will love our show today. And without further ado, here is Megan Callus. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure and an honor. So thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you. Thank you for being here. So go ahead and let everybody know a little bit about yourself. You know, where are you from? Where do you live now? Where do you work? And what is your work? And just give us a little bit of who Megan is.
Sure. Well, I am born and bred from New Jersey, although I have lived out in Colorado and lived in Connecticut. I am back in New Jersey. And so this is where I work. I've got a physical brick and mortar office here, as well as I work virtually. My home is here, and I live with my two daughters, Elizabeth and Katie, age 12 and 15. And I'm a single mom. So I'm a single mom with my own business. So just like a lot of people out there, I'm juggling a lot. So my business is Boundless Breath US.
Amazing. And how did you, you'll tell us a little bit about that in a second, but how did you find it? What led you to that?
So just like a lot of people who are listening and coming to this program, I've had my own experiences and history of complex trauma, anxiety, chronic depression. And I have been in therapy and been on medications, and nothing, although things helped, I never was able to truly feel like I was defeating these issues. I still was dealing with an emotional roller coaster and isolation and avoidance and feelings of worthlessness and all the really dark things that accompany you when you suffer from these ailments, if you will. But I mean,
do you have it? I'm so sorry.
Oh no, please.
Did you have it for a long time? Was it something that happened as a child or adolescence, or was it something environmental? Like, how did you?
No, that's actually a fantastic question. So I had issues in childhood that sort of created an environment where I was much more predisposed to mental health issues, started suffering from depression when I was an adolescent. And went through therapy and the whole kit and caboodle for many, many years. So one thing that I would definitely recommend is for adolescents who are out there who are struggling, and this is a huge issue. It's growing. The numbers are getting worse, not better. If there's a way to get help earlier versus later. So during adolescence, your brain is tremendously plastic. It's called brain plasticity, meaning that it changes rapidly. So it's a wonderful time to bring in tools and techniques to allow for that resilience versus actually programming your brain for trauma and the circles and cycles of threat and anxiety and depression. So I highly recommend, as soon as you can get help, do it.
Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. And I think that's very common for well, we were talking about this earlier, you know, the hormones. And I mean, I don't know if that's what it is. I just see a pattern in children nowadays, starting, you know, right around puberty, and they start developing or somehow it you know, it manifests the anxiety and I think schools and, a lot of pressure
And social
team.
media and just the world that we live in is very challenging right now. So they're facing so many inputs that are particularly difficult, and their brains are different than adult brains. They actually function differently. Prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. So their capacity to manage emotions and actually sort of suppress or inhibit reflexive behaviors, so reactionary behaviors, is much less developed in adolescence than as adults. So it's a very challenging time.
Wow, yes. I mean, I've just seen the pattern. I don't, know exactly what triggers it, but I assume everybody's different. So, and tell us, let's get to the meat and potatoes of this interview. Go ahead and tell us all about your field of graphology.
So it ties into my past. So given the fact that I had these own struggles, I'm also incredibly inquisitive and I love science. I'm sort of a geek or nerd by nature. And so in graduate school, I studied biology, as well as environmental policy. That was a different area and in a different field. And then afterwards, I ended up studying applied neuroscience and studied that for many, many years, and ended up combining it with studying the respiratory system when COVID hit. Got really interested in respiration and breath and combined the two. And what I found was the way we breathe is probably the most powerful tool we have to change every system in our body: our nervous system, our cardiovascular system, obviously our pulmonary system, but our immune system, our digestive system, as well as how we feel.
Wow.
And we take it for granted.
No, I had no idea. I had no idea. Why isn't this, public knowledge?
So
James Nestor,
James Nestor wrote a book, Breath, the lost art of the new science of the lost art. That was written several years ago, and all of a sudden, breath work and breathing became a little bit more in the public domain and public knowledge. So we're slowly starting to appreciate its power and its impact, but it's slow. And unfortunately, a lot of people will enter into the domain and start trying and playing around with breathing techniques, which I'm thrilled that people are starting to do that, but not really understand how it impacts their nervous system and how it impacts their body. And so my goal is to educate, to allow people to really be able to use this free tool we all have access to really help heal themselves.
Amazing, amazing. Yes, I'm a virgin. Tell me all. Version. No, not really. I mean, obviously we all breathe, but just to get by, to stay alive, I had no idea there was a science behind it. So this is so exciting for me to hear. Go ahead, tell us.
So I'll go into the science very briefly. I don't want to get people to eyes start glazing over. I don't want to dig too deep or go too deeply into the weeds, but I want to give you just a little bit of an idea. So I'm going to start a little bit with neuroscience, but I'm not going to stay there too long. Okay. So we've got obviously a brain and a nervous system that controls everything we do. Everything that we feel, think, say, move, all brain nervous system related. Now, that brain and nervous system is broken into two components. One is automatic. We don't think about it. So that's your spleen functioning. That's for the most part breathing, things like that. We don't think about it, it just happens reflexively, automatically. And we've got this other part that's called the somatic. That's what we control. So like right now, I'm doing a little figure 8 with my wrist. I'm telling my wrist to do this. That's part of that system.
Okay.
Now we break up, once again, that autonomic system, the stuff we don't think about too much, into two other systems. A lot of people are going to be familiar with these terms, some won't. So we have something called the parasympathetic. That's your rest, digest, healing space. That's your calm space, right? Then you have that other branch, which is the exact opposite. And so that's your fight, flight, freeze. That's your highly alert, vigilant, a tiger is coming at you space. All right.
Okay.
So we have these two branches. Both are equally important, but a lot of us are in that chronic, stressed out, sympathetic state. And when we're there, it can lead to things like anxiety and depression. Now, believe it or not, how you breathe can put you in one or the other.
That's great. Amazing.
So when you are inhaling, that increases your heart rate, and inhalation-based practices put you more into that alert, sympathetic space. Exhalation practices, so when you take that deep exhale, that long exhalation, that actually can help bring you into that parasympathetic rest, relax, heal state. So by playing around with how you breathe and adding pauses and things like that can actually significantly impact how you're feeling while you're just moving through your day.
That's so empowering to know.
It is, because all of a sudden you've got more control over what you feel.
Right. And so, for example, is there a different way of breathing for someone who's depressed rather than anxious?
It depends. So depression, when you're dealing with depression, sometimes some of the issues, there's tremendous fatigue and there's no motivation. Sometimes there's almost overactivation of a parasympathetic state. And so the practices that sometimes are needed to address that can be different than the breathing practices that need to be addressed anxiety, where anxiety is constantly in that fight, flight, freeze, scared, fearful state. And so that is definitely, there are very specific protocols to do that, to address that through breath. And what's interesting is the breathing protocols are not just designed to help you when you get into that. If you jump into that space, say all of a sudden, okay, you've got, sirens behind you and you're about to be pulled over by a police officer or something triggers you. There are specific practices to help you in those moments. But believe it or not, how you're breathing every moment of every day can actually be contributing to the reason why you're anxious. So if you're breathing too quickly, if it's a fast rate of breath, if it's in your chest and so forth, that actually can be one of the reasons why you suffer from anxiety.
Oh, wow. Okay, so now go ahead and explain to us how we should breathe
So in my practice, what I do is I give specific drills to, and I'm going to share with you guys now some of those to help in the moments when we are in those panic triggered spaces. But ultimately what you want to do is retrain how you breathe so that the 20,000 plus breaths you're taking a day are helping you versus harming you. And so optimal breathing is breathing that is done through your nose, three-dimensionally, diaphragmatically. So you hear of yoga breath, belly breath. That's good. It's activating the diaphragm, but it's not three-dimensional. Our lungs are like balloons. They don't just inflate in one direction. They inflate in all directions. So you want three-dimensional breath. So your belly, sides, your back are all expanding when you breathe, not your chest. And that breath is slow and quiet, whisper quiet. So I'll give you an example. For some folks out there, I know when I had my daughter, when she was in her crib sleeping soundly, I would occasionally have to put a mirror underneath her nose just to make sure she was breathing because it was so quiet and you could hardly see it. That's optimum breath. Compare that to hospital. You're in a hospital. There's older people. They're sick. Their breath is loud. It's shallow. That's exactly what we don't want. And so when you start actually retraining your breathing and breathing like the babies do, your whole world shifts. You're calmer. You're more capable of making decisions because you're actually getting the oxygen to your brain. When we breathe fast, we're limiting the amount of fuel and oxygen we get to our brain. So of course we can't think as well, problem solve as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. I guess, it all starts to make sense when you hear it from a neurological science-based. Oh, please. Okay. So can we, did you want to
Yes,
practice or? Okay.
absolutely. So what I'm going
Ready
to
to
do
dive
is I'm
in.
going to give you a couple of breathing practices that can help you both in the moment when you're feeling triggered, as well as that help. The first one I'm going to give you is one that now my body, I don't think about anymore. When I start getting stressed, I all of a sudden start breathing this way.
Oh, so you've trained yourself.
I've trained myself. And so people will eventually train themselves. This will just happen automatically, but you have to think about it at first. You have to be mindful. So this one's the simplest of them all.
Okay.
All you do is you breathe in through your nose, normal breath, in through the nose, and then you purse your lips like you're breathing through a straw. And exhale, long exhale through those pursed lips. So you breathe in through the nose, and then long exhale through pursed lips. Do that about 10 times, and you will actually all of a sudden feel a shift in your emotional state.
Wow.
And it's the simplest, easiest things to do, because what you're doing is you're extending the exhale. The exhalation is longer than the inhalation. That's also going to shift your biochemistry a little bit, and therefore tell your brain you're safe, everything's okay, and it creates a calming effect.
Wow, I wish I would have met you years ago. Oh my goodness.
Now, the next one is new science came out recently on this. Neurobiologists out in Stanford, as well as some just other high-level neurobiologists, did a recent study on 4 different breathing techniques and their impact on anxiety, mood, sleep, and just sort of overall respiration. And the winner, drum roll please, was something called the physiological sigh. Now, the physiological sigh is something we do naturally without thinking about it. Babies do this, but you can actually, once again, mindfully create this. And if you practice this 5 minutes a day, that's all it takes, 5 minutes a day, it will ultimately change the way you breathe. So you start slowing your breathing, it becomes more optimal, and it's associated with decreased anxiety, improved sleep, improved mood.
Wow.
So we're going to practice that one together.
Let's do it.
So this one, let me explain it first, and then we'll do it. You and I can do it together, and everyone who's watching can do it with us. So for this one, what you do is you take an inhale, just as we always do, inhale through the nose. Now you're going to fill your lungs. So this is a big breath. And I want you to think, fill the lungs low, big breath in. Then you're going to pause for a second, and you're going to try to take a little bit more air in. That one's hard. And then it's a long exhale through the mouth. So now all of a sudden you're emptying your lungs. So let's do that again. We'll do it 2 times. Inhale through the nose. Fill your lungs. Pause for a moment. Inhale again. Long exhale through the mouth. And one more time. Inhale. Get to the top. Inhale again. Long exhale. So believe it or not, within 3 to 5 of those breaths, you actually reduce your heart rate. It has that fast of an impact on your nervous system. But practice for 5 minutes a day over a course of a month will have all the improvements I listed.
That's amazing. And I guess it's important to know that if you're in public, you should probably use a breath mint.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because I work with teenagers.
Oh.
And so not so much about the breath itself, but I teach breathing protocols to them where no one knows they're doing it. So they can be in class, they can be in a social situation where they're starting to feel anxious. And they don't want to end up sitting there going home or anything like that. They want something where they can calm themselves, but no one knows that they're in that state of distress. And so certain breathing practices, less the physiological side, more exhaling through pursed lips, as well as other practices that I teach, are really helpful to know that no one will notice.
Right. Oh, that is a good feature. That's a good, bonus to this technique.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's awesome. Yeah, but as I was breathing out, I was like, is anybody near? So I have that.
Scope, please.
Oh, this is great. This is great. Okay, I think we're getting close to the end. Do you want to go ahead and tell the audience know how they can reach you or find you on social media? If you have any podcasts or anything or trainings coming up, feel free to let them know.
Thank you. I love the opportunity. So, first, my name is Megan Callus, and Callus like the things you get on your hands and your feet. So, on Facebook, if you friend me, generally speaking, once a week, I try to post a breathing technique. So I share something, whether it's for anxiety, whether it's for fatigue, whether it's for just optimal breathing. My company is Boundless Breath US. So you can reach me at boundlessbreath.us. On my website it's based to educate. So that you're going to read about the science, you're going to understand why breathing impacts us the way it does and what can be done. I have a program coming up in June. So it's an 8-week virtual program designed to basically help you retrain your breathing, as well as learning the protocols to help you when you're triggered. And I also bring in somatic practices and other neurological practices to help people. And so that you can find at boundlessbreathprograms.com to learn about
And
that.
you put that in the chat.
In the links in the chat box. So feel free to check those out. In addition, if you want to learn more about particular breathing protocols and practices, put in my name, Megan Callus, and Oprah Daily. I was just interviewed through the Oprah magazine. And so I was featured through them. So if you go to, as I said, Megan Callus, Oprah Daily, you'll see my interview and I provide a bunch of techniques.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
Wow. Just call me Oprah. No. How do I compete with that? Jesus. You just threw in that curveball, by the way.
Well, it's just what I love about the article is that they interviewed 3 different breathwork practitioners. So you get an idea of how we differ from one another and what might serve you. In addition, at the end of the article, I provide additional techniques. So you can see what other techniques might work.
That's great. All right. So we have an Oprah Daily honoree here. So she put all that information in the chat box, so you can follow her, read her articles, and sign up for her breath course. I might have to look into that as well. I've got so much going on right now, but.
And speaking for those who do have a lot going on, keep your eyes out, get on my mailing list, because in June, I'm going to start a breathing camp. Now, what this is going to look like is 20 minutes once a week. We're going to go through breathing programs. You're going to sit there with me and breathe. And I'm going to go through different techniques while you do it, so that it's a snippet of time, but you get to learn some of the tools that can help you throughout your days.
That's great. That's great. I think it's, because you could read about it or you could watch YouTube videos, but I mean, when you have a live person there with you, you'll sit down and you'll do it. It's not like you'll just read it and say, I'll do it later, or that's a cute video. Watch this other cat video now. Like, you just get sidetracked.
You get distracted.
And you probably provide feedback and
of course.
And stuff, so it's more personalized. So that's I encourage anybody that this resounded with you, the whole breathing phenomenon. then definitely take her, sign up for her course. This is amazing. This is the first I've heard I mean, I've heard of breathing, obviously, and you know, we've always heard to take deep breaths to calm down, but this is like a whole new,
There's a lot more science to it than
right.
people have any idea, and so much more power to your breathing. And so being able to learn how to utilize it to help yourself, and especially when you are struggling, it can be a really critical tool in recovery.
Absolutely. I mean, uh, this just all sounds amazing. I can't wait to start.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely, my breathing journey. And then of course, you know, if you all like tours, I'm sure you're enjoying all the speakers. Make sure to purchase the VIP package. And so that way you can have all these recordings and refer back to them, and everybody's writing stuff in the chat so that you'll always have all those references, and you can watch it as many times as you want.
And it really always helps to have multiple modalities. When you're
Mhm.
struggling, not one thing is necessarily the answer. Sometimes it's bringing in multiple pieces to the puzzle, and what works for one person may not work for someone else. So it's really helpful that you're creating this program, so you're providing different tools to everybody.
Yes, and thank you, and to the audience for making this, you know, a success. It hasn't actually aired yet, but you know,
It will be a success.
will be, absolutely. So thank you so much. It was a pleasure and an honor to have you here today, Ms. Megan Callus, like the hands and feet, and we look forward to working again together in the future. And everybody, make sure to jot down the information. So before we close out, and is there any last words you want to say, maybe to young people?
That despite those times when you feel incredibly dark and like there's no hope, there is always hope. Give it 3 days. Hang tight, wait 3 days. And the science that we are learning now is astonishing. So even if you feel you've tried everything, there's still things to try and do. And there are people who are out there that really want to help.
Those are beautiful closing words. And with that, we wish everyone a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Thank you.